Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Happya Life podcast. I'm your host, Clare Deacon. After deciding survival wasn't enough, I set out on a path to live my best life. I wanted to thrive. Now I'm on a mission to support others. Think you're not good enough, confident enough, brave enough? I'm here to tell you you are, and you can achieve anything. This is your time, so let's do this. Welcome back to the Happya Life podcast. I'm Clare Deacon, your trauma-informed therapist, boundaries coach, and founder of Happya. And today I want to talk about something that shows up for almost every woman who comes into my world. Something that, if I'm honest, showed up for me for years as well. Guilt. But not just any guilt. The guilt that hits you like a wave the moment that you say no. You know the one. That tightness in your chest, that twist in your stomach, the, oh no, they're going to be upset with me feeling that bubbles up before you even finish the sentence. That guilt makes you want to message back immediately and say, actually, it's fine, don't worry, I'll do it. Even though you know you don't have the time, the energy, the desire, or the capacity to take one more thing on. So if you're listening and thinking, Claire, that's me, literally yesterday, then you're not alone. You're so not alone that I sometimes joke I could actually run an entire year of the podcast on just this one topic. It's that common. But I don't want to just talk about it today. I want to sit with it. I want to unravel it with you. I want to help you understand why it happens, why it feels so uncomfortable, and why, believe it or not, it's actually a sign that something inside you is shifting in a really important way. So let's just take a breath together first. Whatever you're doing, walking, sitting, cooking, just soften your shoulders for a moment. Let your jaw relax. Let your stomach unclench. Because guilt lives in the body long before it arrives in the mind. And for those who have spent their lives being the strong one, the reliable one, the easy one, guilt becomes almost a reflex. You say no, your body says danger. Because here's the thing, your yes was never neutral. Your yes was often your safety strategy. I remember speaking to a woman recently, let's call her Anna, lovely, capable, smart, the kind of woman who everyone leans on because she just gets things done. She told me she'd set one tiny boundary with a family member. He'd said that she couldn't help with something that weekend, that she needed some time to rest. Completely reasonable, completely human, completely allowed. But she said the guilt afterwards was so loud that she almost cancelled her boundary and drove over to help anyway. And she said, Claire, why does something so tiny feel so unbearable for her? And I smiled because I know that feeling. And I said, because this is not tiny for your nervous system. So let's bring a little trauma-informed science into this, just as I do inside the Boundaries Reset program. Guilt in this context, it's not a moral truth. It's not a sign that you've done something wrong. It's your conscience trying to correct you. It's your conditioning. It's everything you learned growing up about being a good girl, a good daughter, a good partner, a good mum, a good employee. It's the unspoken rules that shaped your identity long before you had the language to really challenge them. Maybe you were the helper, maybe you were the one who noticed everyone else's emotional needs. Maybe you were the peacemaker. Maybe you were the one who learned very early that saying yes kept things calm in your household or your work environment. So now, every time you say no, your nervous system reacts as if you've broken an ancient rule. It reacts as if connection and belonging, approval, your emotional safety are suddenly at risk. That guilt you feel, that's not your truth, that's your survival brain. And survival brains don't do nuance, they do patterns, they do consistency. So when you say no, your survival brain says, well, hang on a minute, we don't do this. This is unfamiliar. This could upset someone. This could change a dynamic. Let's make her feel guilty so she goes back to what we know. So, in the Happier Guide, why you keep saying yes when you mean no, I'll drop the link in the show notes. I talk about how so many women live in what I call the eye of the storm, where everything feels too much, where you're overwhelmed, exhausted, saying yes, even when you're screaming no inside, and yet still smiling because being the strong one feels safer than stopping. So when you finally start trying to step out of that role, even gently, your body panics. Not because you're wrong, but because you're rewriting a pattern that your nervous system has relied on for years. When I work with individuals inside the boundary reset, the very first step isn't teaching them what to say or how to say it, it's building that internal permission. It's helping them to understand deeply in the body that their needs are valid, that their boundaries are allowed, that rest isn't selfish, it's necessary. And often, the very first thing that they realize is that guilt shows up not because they're doing something bad, but because they're doing something different. You can't, cannot protect your peace and people please at the same time. And I say this lovingly often and with complete compassion. Let me give you another example because stories really help this land. A woman in the boundaries reset recently said to me, Claire, I told my boss I couldn't stay late this week. Not even a big deal, but she felt like a terrible person. She kept on waiting for him to be annoyed. What she was really waiting for was the emotional consequence she'd learned to expect from childhood, that saying no equals conflict or disappointment or being seen as being difficult. So her guilt wasn't about work, it was about old conditioning being activated in this new context. And this is exactly why guilt isn't a stop sign, it's a signal, a sign that the old identity, the one built on compliance and self sacrifice and emotional labor, is actually starting to soften. And your new identity, the one built on clarity and boundaries and self respect, is beginning to emerge. So, again, in the downloadable guide, I talk about one of the simplest and most powerful tools for beginning this shift, and that's the pause. Just a moment of space before you answer, before you default to yes, before your survival brain takes the wheel. And I want you to imagine how different your life would feel if you just paused for 3 seconds before saying yes. 3 seconds to breathe, 3 seconds to check in with your body, 3 seconds to ask, what do I need right now? Because here's the reality, you can't hear your own yes when your life is full of other people's expectations. And that's what guilt protects. Not your joy, not your peace, not your well being, but the expectations that were forced onto you long before you knew how you could choose differently. So let's do something together right now. I want you to think of the last time you said yes when you meant no. Just bring it to your mind gently without judgment. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe this morning, maybe it was 10 minutes ago. Notice how your body felt afterwards. Did your chest feel heavy? Did your stomach tighten? Did you feel resentful? Did you feel invisible? Did you feel like you abandoned yourself a little? Those sensations are somatic boundary signals. Your body is more honest than your mouth at times. One of the things we do inside the Boundaries Reset is help you learn to recognize those signals in real time, not hours later, but when the resentment kicks in. But in the actual moment, well, you still have agency. Because the first step to boundaries isn't communication, it's awareness. Here's what usually happens. You will start to notice that you need boundaries. You start to feel resentful. You start to feel exhausted. You know something needs to change. So you try to say no, and the guilt knocks you flat, and you think, see, I can't do this. Boundaries make everything worse. And this is where so many people give up. But guilt at this stage isn't a sign to stop, it's a sign to keep going gently. It's the emotional equivalent of a growing pain. Let me tell you a personal story here because I don't want you to think I just speak from the theory alone. Years ago, long before Happya existed, long before trauma recovery and positive psychology and all the training that I've undertaken, I was someone who said yes to almost everything. I said yes because I wanted to be helpful. I said yes because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I said yes because I was terrified of what might happen if I didn't. And the first time I truly said no, not an excuse, not a half no, not a no, not a yes disguised as a maybe, a real grounded, honest no. I actually cried afterwards, not because of the boundary itself, but because of the guilt, because it felt like I was doing something wrong, even though I knew I wasn't. That was a real moment when I realized how deeply guilt was woven into my nervous system, how much I had been in there as part of that survival mode. It's not logical. It's historical, it's emotional, it's somatic, it's inherited, it's learned. And because it's learned, it means it can be unlearned. So let's just gently explore what's underneath guilt, because this will help you see why saying no feels so emotionally loaded. Guilt isn't about the boundary. Guilt is about what boundary threatens. It threatens your role, it threatens your identity, it threatens the version of you other people have gotten used to. It threatens the story you've been carrying about what makes you good. When you say no, you're not just declining a request, you're disrupting a relational pattern. And that disruption feels scary. Women often fear not the boundary itself, but what the boundary reveals. I'm not okay with this anymore. I'm not willing to overgive anymore. I'm not going to be everything for everyone. I'm not available in the way I used to be. And that truth is powerful. It's also confronting because it forces you and sometimes the people around you to shift. But here's what I want you to know. Every time you honor a boundary, you reinforce your self-worth. Every time you hold a boundary, you strengthen your sense of identity. Every time you navigate the guilt, you build resilience. Every time you choose yourself, you come home to yourself. Let's talk about what usually happens after the boundary, something we call the boundary hangover inside the program. You set the boundary, you hold it, you feel proud for about 5 seconds, and then suddenly the spiral begins. Did I sound rude? Do they think I'm selfish? Are they upset? Did I overreact? Should I perhaps message again and soften what I think? This is the moment that most abandon the boundary, not during the conversation, but afterwards when the guilt kicks in. This is where support matters most because it's in this moment when the guilt is loudest that you need someone helping you regulate your nervous system, reframing the fear and anchoring the truth of your decision. This is one of the reasons why the boundary reset exists because reading about boundaries is not the same as experiencing the emotions that come with actually setting them. Boundaries are not a mindset exercise, they're a somatic experience, they're an identity shift. They require practice and reassurance, safety, and support. So if you're listening to this and thinking, Claire, this is exactly where I get stuck, then I want to invite you gently, without pressure, to book a complimentary chat with me. It's not a sales pitch, not a performance, just a conversation, just a space where you can be honest about what's going on, where you feel stuck and what you want. We can figure out together whether the boundaries reset is the right step for you or whether you need something softer first. And if you're not quite ready for a conversation, if that feels a little too big right now, that's okay too. You can download the free guide, Why You Keep Saying Yes When You Mean No, at happiercoach.com/boundaries, or you can check out my dedicated boundaries resources, which is happiercoach.com/explore/boundaries. And I'll put all of that in the show notes. It's gentle, it's simple, and it's designed to help you take the very first step back to yourself. So, as I say, those links will all be in the show notes. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But before we wrap up, let me leave you with this. You are not selfish for wanting peace. You are not wrong for needing space. You are not a bad person for saying no. You are a human being with limits, needs, and worth. And guilt? Guilt is simply the shadow of who you used to be, whispering as you step into who you're becoming. Take another breath. You are safe. You are allowed. You are worthy. And you don't have to figure this out alone. If you're ready to take the next step, even if you're not sure what that looks like, book a complimentary chat with me at happiercoach.com/chat. And if you're not quite there yet, start with the free boundaries guide. One step, one pause, one gentle no at a time. You're not selfish. You're remembering your worth. And I'll see you next week. Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Happya Life podcast. I'm your host, Clare Deacon. After deciding survival wasn't enough, I set out on a path to live my best life. I wanted to thrive. Now I'm on a mission to support others. Think you're not good enough, confident enough, brave enough? I'm here to tell you you are, and you can achieve anything. This is your time, so let's do this.